My name is Possible, and I'll be your tutor for today. In our previous lecture, we started with the concept of business cycle, whereby we said that the business cycle talks about the fluctuations that occurs in the economy. That means the ups and the downs, the recessions, and then the economic growth or the economic development that occurs in the economy. And then from there we look at the phases of the business cycle. And he said that the business cycle, we have what is called trough, we have what is called peak, we have what is called expansion, we have what is called contraction, we have what is called recession, and then we have depression. We explain all of them accordingly. That is lecture 4. Good. And then from there, we look at the characteristics of the business cycle. And then today is of no exception. We are going to look at the cyclical behavior of the economic variables with respect to the business cycle. Now, from lesson 1 up to lesson 4, we have got to know that we have economic variables. And that is why we are studying economics. Because economics is the study of their variables and how they behave in the economy. So macroeconomics is the study of the aggregate performance of the various variables and then how they behave when they change in the economy. Now today we are going to look at how these variables behave with respect to the business cycle. I hope it makes sense. Now we are saying that it could be categorized into two. The behavior of these variables with respect to the business cycle could be categorized into two. One is the direction of the movement of the variable with the business cycle. So one is the direction of the movement of the economic variable with the business cycle. The second one is the timing of the variable. The timing of the economic variable with respect to the business cycle. So we could see that 1, we have the direction, 2, we have the timing, all of them, of the variable with respect to the business cycle. If we talk about the direction of the economic variable with respect to the business cycle, we are talking about the movement that occurs when the business cycle is also moving. If the business cycle is moving towards the left-hand side, the economic variable, is it also moving towards that particular direction? It's a question. And then if the business cycle is moving up, the economic variable, is it moving down? If the business cycle is moving towards left, the economic variable, is it moving towards left or the other way around? So we are saying that the direction of the movement, it talks about whether an economic variable moves directly or otherwise with the business cycle. It is talking about whether the economic variable, it moves directly or it moves inversely with the business cycle. So we could see that the direction talks about whether there is a positive relationship between the economic variable and the business cycle, or there is a negative relationship between the business cycle and the economic variable, or there is no relationship there is no relationship between the business cycle against the economic variable. So whatsoever the case might be, what we are trying to say is that concerning the direction of the economic variable with respect to the business cycle, we are talking about whether an economic variable moves directly or it moves otherwise with the business cycle. And now we are saying that under the direction, it could be categorized into 3 under the direction. Because if you are talking about the direction, it could either be a positive direction or a negative direction, or there could be no direction, 0 direction, right? So we are saying that the situation whereby when the business cycle is rising up and then the economic variable also is rising, that one we are saying that the direction between them is positive, and in economics we call them pro-cyclical. So a pro-cyclical direction talks about a positive movement between the economic variable and the business cycle. It means that when the business cycle is automatically the economic variable must also recess. Again, if the economic variable, if the business cycle is rising up, is expanding, automatically the economic variable also has to expand. Let us look at something like employment. If the economy is performing well, automatically there will be creation of business, there will be creation of employment, there will be creation of firms, and then production also will increase, and then because of that, firms will hire a lot of people or can employ a lot of people, and then because of that, employment rate will rise up. So we are saying that between employment and then the business cycle, there is a positive relationship between them, and that is what is termed as pro-cyclical under the concept of macroeconomics. Putting the pro-cyclical aside, we have another one called counter-cyclical. Counter-cyclical. When you say something is countering something, it means that it is opposing it. The two of them are in opposite direction. There is an opposition between them. I hope you are getting it. So when you hear something like counter-cyclical, we are saying that when the business cycle is going up, when the business cycle is rising, then those variables will be declining, or they will be going down, they will be recessing. And then when the business cycle is recessing, those variables will be going up. A typical example is unemployment. When the business cycle, when the economy is booming, unemployment will be coming down. It has to come down because the economy is making the people better off. And then firms are able to create avenues and then opportunities for people also to apply for businesses or for jobs or for work. And then because of that, firms are going to expand their labor force so that they can produce much into the economy. So we could see that when the businesses or the economy is performing well, businesses will perform well. And when businesses are performing well, automatically they are going to increase their productivity or their production. And if they are going to increase their production, it means that they have to expand their labor force, their working force, right? And then if they are expanding their working force, it means that they have to employ additional workers. And if they are employing additional workers, unemployment rate is going to be reduced. So we are saying that counter-cyclical, when the economy is booming, those variables will be reducing. And when the economy is recessing, those variables will be increasing. Another portion is what is called acyclical. Acyclical is also talks about the direction of the business cycle with respect to the economic variable or the macroeconomic variable, in the sense that it says, or it stands to propose that there is no relationship between the business cycle and the economic variable. So acyclical says that if you are searching for relationship, you won't get some, because there is nothing called positive relationship or procyclical. There is nothing called negative relationship or countercyclical. The relationship between the two of them is zero. So a cyclical stands to reason that I have nothing to do with the business cycle. At some point of time, if the business cycle is increasing, I can increase. At the same time, at some point of time, if the business cycle is increasing, I can decide to decrease. So you can't predict the direction between them, right? That is what is called acyclical. So, closing a chapter to that, the first part, we are saying that the one point to measure the cyclical behavior of the business cycle alongside with or with respect to the macroeconomic variable is what is called the direction of the movement of the economic variables. It's the direction of the movement of the economic variables, the direction. And then the second one is the timing of the variable with respect to the business cycle. So outside the scope of the direction, we are saying that time also could be used, because when we talk about the timing of the variable, we are talking about the point at which the turning point of the economic variable could be influenced by the turning point of the business cycle. The turning point, if my turning point is affecting your turning point, it means that when, the word is when you are turning, I'm turning. It means that it's time. The time that you are turning, I'm turning. So that one we are saying that there is a timing relationship. There is a timing relationship between the variable and the business cycle, right? So the second component that we use to measure the cyclical behavior of the economic variable and the business cycle is the timing of the variable. The timing of the variable. When the business cycle is turning, and at the same time, that very time, the economic variable is turning, we are saying that there is what is called a timing relationship between them. Now, when you look at a timing relationship, it could be categorized also into three. We have one, the leading, and then two, we have lagging, and then the third one, we have what is called coincident. Now, when you talk about the leading, we are saying that the leading variables are the variables that go ahead of the business cycle. That means they happen before the business cycle also happen, or they will reach their turning point before the business cycle also reaches its turning point. I hope you are getting it. Nice one. And then something like I will list some of them on you, okay, at the latter part of the lecture. So put in the back of your mind that we have the leading variable. They go ahead of the business cycle. They turn before the business cycle turns. I hope you are getting it. And then we have what is called lagging. You see that the lagging, they happen after the business cycle has turned. Right? So the business cycle has to reach its turning point before the lagging also follows. Right? And then we have the coincident. Coincident, it doesn't have a rare timing relationship with the business cycle. It can happen at any time. I hope you are getting it. So I decided to list some of the items and their cyclical behaviors. So we are going to look at them. One is what is called industrial production. Now, industrial production, when you look at the timing of industrial production, it is coincident. The timing of industrial production is coincident, and then direction is procyclical. Procyclical in the sense that the economy has to expand before industrial production could also be increased, right? So it has a positive relationship with the business cycle. So the industrial production is coincident for the timing, and then the direction is procyclical. Consumption is coincident. Consumption is coincident. The time is coincident. And then the direction is what? Procyclical. You guess it right. It's procyclical. Why procyclical? Because when the economy is performing, our income will increase. And when our income increases, we are saying that income is either consumed or saved, or income is either consumed or invested. So consumption depends on income. So if the economy is better off, or the business cycle is expanding, we are going to consume much. So it's procyclical. The next one is fixed investment. What will be the answer for timing? Okay, for direction. Okay, so fixed investment is coincident for the timing, and then procyclical for the direction. Right? Good. The economy has to increase before we invest into the economy. Okay. Residential investment is the same thing. Residential investment, but under timing, residential investment is leading. Residential investment, it is leading because it has to happen before the economy will be better off. I hope you are getting it. These are some of the things that we have to embark on so that the economy can expand. So we have to do it before the economy can expand. So it comes ahead of the business cycle. And then it is procyclical because it moves in a positive direction with the business cycle. Let me move away from there. We have what is called stock prices. Stock prices is lagging. Stock prices focuses on the performance of the business cycle, right? So a country that is not performing well will automatically and definitely have its stock prices to to be lower. An economy which has a higher GDP or economy which is performing well will automatically have a good stock price. I hope it makes sense. So we are saying that it's lagging because it focuses on the behavior of the business cycle before it also moves. And then when we look at the direction, it is pro-cyclical. Unemployment is counter-cyclical, I have told you. Rare interest rates is lagging for the timing, and then it is acyclical for the direction. These are some of the things that I can talk to you about. In our next video, we are going to look at the concept of stock and then the flow nature of the economic variables. Now we have learned economic variables from lecture 1 up to this time, and then this lecture focused on the cyclical behavior of the economic variables with respect to the business cycle. Our next lecture, we are going to look at the nature of the economic variables, and we are saying that it could be categorized into two. That is the stock and the flow. So watch out for our next lecture. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can get access to more videos as and when we upload them. Once again, my name is Possible from Ghana. Bye bye.